So we are about to dive into Kohelet. We spent the last 2 Mondays reading an article actually from Wikipedia, and now we're ready to jump into the text. And I haven't done this in a while, where I basically just copy the text and have some fun reading commentaries and uh, here we go. So there's the whoops. Let me see from the beginning. So I presume you can see, now I gotta find you guys again.
Good, we can see.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And Les is coming back in. Let's see if he comes in right side up or upside down. That'll be interesting. And Paul is coming in. Okay. So we're starting Kohelet, and Les, you're still upside down, so I would suggest you just keep the camera off. You could go into your camera settings, but I don't have the foggiest idea how to do that. Is the camera physically attached to your
Yeah, it's
computer?
part of the screen, and I haven't touched anything to my
Okay.
knowledge.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you. I
you,
just
you need
won't
to
show up.
find a
Probably not a
12-year-old
Zoom.
kid that
It's not
can
a
help.
Zoom setting. It's probably in your computer somehow. It got flipped, the
Yeah, but
setting
we're
in
not,
the.
we're not going to take time to figure it out. So
It happened
since
when
no one
his
can help
finger
you.
healed.
Okay, so Kohelet, Book of Ecclesiastes, and we talked about this somewhat during the reading the article. As we'll see in the first verse, with it seems like Solomon speaking. So traditionally, this book was attributed to Solomon. In fact, I know we talked about this. The tradition is that Solomon wrote the erotic poem Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, when he was a young man, wrote Proverbs in his middle age, and wrote Kohelet in his old age, where he is struggling and trying to make sense of life and make sense of his life. Now, of course, Solomon would have lived around 900 BCE or 10th century BCE, and the language and the background of the text suggests a much later date, and the sometime around the 3rd century BCE. And we talked about this again, but the word Ecclesiastes is a Greek rendering of the word Kohelet, which can have a bunch of interesting meanings, but probably means a member of the assembly. A kahal is a synagogue, or really a kahal is a congregation or an assembly. And it's an example of wisdom literature, basically teaching truisms. And, according to the commentaries that I've read, it's the closest the Bible comes to philosophy. The Hebrew Bible generally doesn't delve into philosophy. And I think the scholars see a Greek influence on the book for that reason. And Kohelet is seeking the truth based on reason and experience alone, rather than revelation from God. And it's a collection of short proverbs and longer maxims, as we will see. And I just want to call to your attention two commentaries that I used. The one I use by far more is a JPS commentary on just Ecclesiastes, and this one is a Sonsino selection. It's collection. It's fairly old, and this one has the 5 Megillot. The word Megillah means scroll, and the most famous Megillah is Megillat Esther. So in the Talmud, when they refer to the Megillah, they're talking about Esther. But Ecclesiastes is another one of these scrolls. Kohelet. Whenever I write Fox is the author of the JPS commentary. So just quoting him, Kohelet bears his soul in all of its twistings and turnings, ups and downs, taking his readers with him on a sometimes arduous journey to an incomplete knowledge. The journey itself is important. I would say many of us thinking about the Bible are looking for the truth, and the answer and the way and the light, and you name it, Kohelet is not a place to look for that. Kohelet basically is we are sitting with an older guy, probably in the later stages of his life, and he presumably has been king in Jerusalem. He self-describes as such. You know, likely the author is thinking of Solomon, but there are other kings that were kings in Jerusalem, and he's attained riches and women and concubines and everything else, and he's trying to make sense of life in general and his life. The book is read during Sukkot, and there's a couple of other of reasons other than the ones that we discussed in past weeks. For one thing, it speaks of rejoicing. The bottom line in the book is to rejoice, and in Sukkot we rejoice. It also discusses and declares the transience of human life, and the sukkah is a temporary structure, just as our lives are temporary structures, don't endure forever. And of course, autumn is the season which is evocative of mortality. And, even, Frank Sinatra sings, "I'm in the autumn of my years." And so it's a time when we're heading toward really facing our mortality. And of course, Sukkot occurs in the autumn. The epilogue, which we will get to at some point, I have no idea how quickly we will go on this. Scholars believe that it was added by a later editor to make it more theologically acceptable. The book, has all kinds of troubling questions and troubling answers, and the at the very end it basically says, fear God and do the commandments, and everything will be okay. Let's see, that's 12, 9 to 14. I'll just kind of quickly give it. Yeah, he said he listened and he sought to discover in the sayings of the wise and so on. A further word against my son be warned. The making of many books is without limit, and much study is wearying of the flesh. The sum of the matter, when all is said and done, revere God and observe his commandments, for this applies to all mankind, that God will call every creature to account for everything unknown, be it good or bad. So it ends in a very pious note, which made the rabbis happy. And so for that reason, many people believe that it was added by a later either editor or even a scribe. So let's continue. There are a couple of key words, and you will see it as I take you through my own discussion of this. There are many, many times when I will refer back to the Hebrew. But before we look at this, I'll call on Alan. You have your hand up.
I have a question about this book versus Job. Was this one written before? Do we believe the authors knew of the other one?
It's a very good question. I don't know the answer offhand.
Okay.
And Job is not. I don't have a quick.
There are things about what you just read which struck me to think about Job. That's all.
I would say Job. The main difference I see in Kohelet and Job is Job takes a position and sticks to it. Really, in the face of his wife, in the face of his fate, with losing his children and all of his possessions, in the face of his own illness, and even in the face of God, Job is consistent. Whereas, as we'll see, Kohelet is all over the place, and raising issues and wondering about them. But it is a very good question. Like Job, it is a troubling book, and like Job, it is not consistent with a lot else that we see in the Bible. So I would say it's a very good question. So one of the things that people who analyze Scripture are always looking for in different passages are what are the key words, and the key words are typically words that are repeated quite often, and they mean different things in different contexts. So I'll just mention them here. Amal, to toil, to earn, to make, to try strenuously, to require. Asa, to make happen. A ma'aseh is a is a work or event. A chelek is a portion and a possession. And again, if you're familiar with the language in English of Kohelet, you'll hear some of these words. Hevel I'm sorry, Hevel. It's not Hevel. That's actually an error. I'm going to correct that because it's going to drive me crazy if I don't. I was going through and transliterating all this stuff, but
The internet said Job was written, it was believed to be written
boy, I don't know.
earlier in Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
Can you ask how old was Solomon when he died?
How old was Solomon when he died? I don't know.
Did you say Job was written first, Alan?
That's what my search brought back, Job. So the period of Solomon, it also mentions, is around the time of 935 BCE. If that helps your answer is
Yes,
about
yeah,
Solomon.
and it's a 10th century BCE. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think both of these books are later than that. So Hevel is the first word in the book. It's often sometimes translated as vanity, but it probably means senselessness, absurdity, vanity, futile, ephemeral, incomprehensible, a shallow breath. So the modern meaning of vanity of someone who is vain is not what we would see in the Hebrew word Hevel. And then Chokhmah, many of you know this word. It's wisdom. Someone who is wise is a Chacham. Skill, knowledge, expertise. Re'it Ruach, pursuit of the wind. Futile pursuit or desire. We see again and again, we see the line that it's like chasing the wind. Simcha, most of us know this, enjoyment, pleasure. Tov, good. And Yitron is profit or something you earn. And I would say the key teachings of Ecclesiastes, and again, I'm quoting Fox almost everywhere as I come up with these observations, is he is addressing the possibility of meaningfulness in life, in the face of things that seem meaningless. He doesn't arrive at a grand theology or logic, but he does recommend modest and small scale accommodations in our lives. He finds many things worthwhile: work, enjoyment, love, friendship, wisdom, righteousness, fearing God, hoping for divine justice. And he speaks of God with no warmth. God is always called Elohim rather than Yud-He Vav-He Hashem, but affirms that God is just. And again, the Hebrew word Elohim can mean judge as well as God. There is a lot of doubt and troubled thought and troubled thinking in this book. We talked about the epilogue. And again, where I pop in observations, lest you think that it is me and my brilliance, I hasten to point out that this is Fox and his commentaries. Okay, so here is how we're going to do it. So would someone like to read? Joanne, you want to read the biblical text? I presume you can see it.
Okay. The words of Kohelet, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Utter futility, said Kohelet. Utter futility. All is futile. What real value is there for humankind and all the gains they make beneath the sun? One generation goes, another comes, but the earth remains the same forever.
Okay, so again, utter futility. The more familiar translation is vanity. Vanity says Kohelet. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity, and it's Hevel Hevelim, Mar Kohelet, Hevel Hevelim, Hakol Hevel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Talk about a key word. The word Hevel is repeated 5 times in one line. And again, Fox suggests in many cases alternative translations, which I find helpful. Instead of this is the new JPS translation, probably the newest Jewish translation, or another translation would be, what profit is there for man in all the toil he performs beneath the sun. And beneath the sun is a phrase meaning the human domain. Above the sun is God's domain. Okay. Continue, Joanne.
Sun rises and the sun sets and glides back to where it rises. Southward blowing, turning northward, ever turning blows the wind. On its rounds the wind returns.
Kind of an interesting thing that I would never have noticed is the phrases that the sun pants. It's almost like the sun is running in a strenuous journey. Instead of gliding back to where it rises, it actually pants to where it rises. So this is kind of nature being in its natural cycle. And if you guys want to chime in on your own thoughts as we read this, I am happy to have you do that. Okay.
All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place from which they flow, the streams flow back again. All such things are wearisome. No one can ever state them. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear enough of hearing.
So it's kind of this cyclic system. Do we really have any effect? All the streams flow into the sea, but the sea doesn't increase in depth, except when one of these big glaciers calves, but that's a whole other story. And so it's kind of this natural cycle. And the question is, do people have any influence on it? It's an example of frustrated effort. And I think he's really talking about, his own efforts. I think I can't remember where I've put notes in because I've been working on this for quite some time. So the translation here is kol hadeverim. Devar can mean thing, and it can also mean word, which is a very interesting thing in Hebrew. I see. Yeah. So the Masoretic text doesn't have any word for such there, so it could mean all words are wearisome. Yeah, Alan.
So this reminds me that when Pirkei Avot was written, and the wording, I'll paraphrase, butcher, but it has to do with you're not expected to solve everything. You just are expected to do your part. This causes me to react to that. The frustration in this wording is the expectation was all these things would get done, right?
So you're speaking of two things. One, you're right in Pirkei Avot. It says it's not up to you to complete the task, but no one is exempt from participating in it. Presumably, the task is the redemption of the world and salvation of the world. And so I think Kohelet is experiencing that in a way that I would say many of us experience it. We do, and we work, and here we are again. My own case, I spent a lot of effort. I went to Antarctica and back, and here I am sitting in front of the same screen doing the same thing. And even though I was once a contender, I was once chief rabbi of the entire continent, but now I'm back emptying the dishwasher, to put it quite literally this evening. Paul, sorry, go ahead, Alan. Sorry.
So you're making me make an adjustment to what I said. Is at any point in time you can have an expectation that is reflected by this text, or you could have a reflection as what I'm referring to as the Pirkei Avot, because it's focusing on what we can do individually. This is criticizing or observing that in nature and from God, all those ideal completions never happen, right? But I don't think we're supposed to think of it that way and be
so you're losing me a little bit. In the Pirkei Avot, it basically, the lesson I get out of the Pirkei Avot is it's not up to you to complete the task. I've often, I speak with people who are environmentalists, and they're very frustrated because environmental problems persist, and I'm only one person, and what can I do? And it's hopeless. And I would say the Pirkei Avot is a response to that. Even though you won't see the Messiah coming, you won't see the salvation of the world, you still have to keep working on it. I would say I get a very different feeling from this text. I get a feeling that I'm sitting with a wealthy guy, an introspective wealthy guy, who has been through a lot of his life, and he's saying, it's just wearisome. The rivers flow into the sea is to the same height. I got all this wealth, but here I am, and I'm suffering from gout. That's the feeling I get from this. I don't see it as a wisdom laden teaching yet at this point. But
Okay,
that's my own
thanks.
take on this. And I guarantee you, when I read this, and as a younger man, it meant different things to me. Paul.
Yeah, I think you you might have given my answer, the answer that I'm seeking right when you're speaking to Alan. But the thing I wonder about is who is the audience that he's speaking to? And who does he think the audience, does he think there's enough audience for him, the author, to make anything out of this? I mean, to make money, to make make him wealthy, or to make him understood more? Who's he writing it to?
Yeah, so I get the sense this is written by an older person who has seen a lot of his life, and he's describing his journey. I don't think at the time this was written, the concept that I'm going to sell 1 million copies or anything like that, or maybe even that it would be in the Bible, would be something that would be necessarily considered. But it is, it's a important Jewish book that the rabbis decided should be in the Bible.
Okay.
So before it was not in the Bible?
I'm sorry?
Before that rabbi decided it be in the Bible, it was not in the Bible?
I don't know that we have a record of when Kohelet was put into the canon, but it was considered as such. So we don't know when it was put in. At some point before the year 90, people decided what books are going to be so important that they should be part of the Bible. And people were probably the rabbis, in the Mishnah era. And hold on. And these books were so important that they were translated into Greek, and they were collected in Greek. And then at some point after that, some of the rabbis kicked some of the books out, but they never told the folks that were reading it in Greek. So the early church, who was reading the Bible in Greek, kept those books in. And a good example of that is Maccabees. And there's about 9 books that are called the Apocrypha. But I'm not aware of any discussion. Yeah, I think I did come across a line or two in the Talmud which questioned whether Kohelet should be in the Bible.
Second century. It's the when the rabbis were working, it said it's believed to be canonized in the 2nd century CE.
Yeah, that's what you're reading there saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got the iffiness that everything else we're discussing about the time. It's a little iffy.
Yep. Yep. Erwin, you were going to say something, I think.
Yes, I think I reached an age, thank God, Baruch Hashem, 89, and I lived through many, many, many things. And the past 2 years, I writing short stories of my life experiences. And I don't write it because I want to publish it.
Right.
But I hope that after my passing, maybe one of my grandchildren or maybe one of my children gonna read it, and they see how I view the world through my point of view. And I'm not writing it to influence anybody.
Right.
And
And I get that same feeling about this book. Thank you.
That's nice, Erwin. Erwin, that really nice. I like that.
I don't know if it's nice or not nice, but
Well, you don't have to know it, but Paul thinks it's nice. Okay. Okay. Joanne.
Only that shall happen, that has happened. Only that occur, that has occurred. There is nothing new beneath the sun. Sometimes there's a phenomenon of which they say, look, this one is new. It occurred long since in ages that went by before us.
I should apologize for Kohelet using such a trite, common saying, there's nothing new under the sun. But this is actually, of course, where it comes from. Let's see if I have anything, but yeah. So basically saying nothing is fundamentally new. Okay.
The earlier ones are not remembered. So to those that will occur later will no more be remembered than, will no more be remembered than. It will not be remembered like, for in meaning like of 26 to
So let me stop you. Let me read it without all those notes. So the earlier ones are not remembered. So too those that will occur later will no more be remembered than those that will occur at the very end. So as you know, if you've used Safaria, they have these little notes, and for the most part, I have not included them. But every now and again, I have included them because it's a different sense of meaning. Will no more be remembered than, or it will not be remembered like those that occurred at the very end. And he's quoting in the book of Job where the word im has that meaning. Alan, I don't know if your hand is up to say something
No,
or not.
no,
Jim, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about why they decided to put it in the Bible, and you may find this interesting. I asked my pastor friend, the fundamentalist Baptist minister, and I said, we're talking about why it was in the Bible, and he believes that, of course, that it was written by Solomon.
Right.
And his thesis is that Solomon didn't do God's will. He had all these foreign wives and built temples to foreign gods. And because he screwed up, his life turned to pants. And so this is the result of what happens if you don't follow God's will. That's what he told.
I think that's I think that's an excellent commentary. Simple, but yeah, if it bothers you of having 1,000 wives, and this was BV before Viagra. I just want to point out, if he had 1,000 wives, and many of the wives were not Israelites, so they actually put up statues of their own gods. So there's plenty of reasons to criticize Solomon, although Solomon has a pretty good reputation in our thought. So I think that's a very reasonable take on this. Let's read the last line here, verse 12.
Kohelet was king in Jerusalem over Israel.
Yeah, I don't know why they're calling it Koheleth. Just as Ecclesiastes. Yeah, okay. It's actually a very interesting issue. So here is the Hebrew. So you have a taf at the end.
Yeah.
And in Ashkenazi pronunciation of Hebrew, if there's no dot in it, you would recite it as an S. So you will read commentaries that will call it Koheles. And if you read it with a Sephardic pronunciation, you read it as a T, Kohelet, which is, of course, how I'm always referring to him. But actually, I'm now just glancing at my book here. They are routinely writing it Kohelet. And maybe they're splitting the difference between a T and an S. But it's like Beth Torah or B'nai Brith. My understanding was it probably was an archaic pronunciation of that letter. Paul.
I have one more question on that topic of who's going to read this. I am now reading a book on Reform Judaism, so I can get a little more depth of what it means to me.
You're reading a book on what?
Reform Judaism.
Reform Judaism, yeah.
And what was the purpose of the person writing this for? What did he want to show people? What did he want to give
The
people?
author of your book on Reform Judaism, or the author of this book?
Book here, on this book here we're talking about. What
Yeah,
did he
so
want for people to know?
slow down a second. That's
Yeah.
where I like Irwin's response.
Yeah.
Not everything has to have a purpose, a
Right,
practical purpose.
right.
You could argue
Paul,
that.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Alan.
I just wanted to know the name of the book that Paul's reading about Reform
Well,
Judaism.
it's back on the shelf, but it's very thick, and I'll have to bring it next time so I can give
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So this is presumably a memoir of an actual king in Jerusalem. So we have here in verse 12 another reason why we think that he might be Solomon. And, you know, when I hear Erwin say, I've lived to 89 years and I've learned a few things in my life, my ears perk up. I want to hear the rest of that thought. If I have someone who, you know, whose intelligence I respect, and they say, you know, I've learned a thing or two, I want to know what I may not agree with you, but I want to share in that wisdom. And I would say that's what's going on here. He was a guy who was king over Israel, and he's talking about what he learned in his life. And so the rabbi said, and particularly since the rabbis thought it was Solomon, and since Solomon and David are probably the key figures in the Bible, there would be, you know, if you get a book that you are pretty sure were written by Solomon, you would want to preserve that book.
Yes,
and
that's,
put
that's
and
a
put
good,
it.
that's a good idea.
Rabbi, I wonder if Kohelet would have written this book through the glasses of an ordinary old man instead of a king of Israel.
But he keeps saying, "I was the king of Israel." He doesn't hide the fact.
Yeah, and so, but I would like to ask you: do you think when Kohelet lived, he would think that history repeats itself?
I would say probably yes, based on what I've read here. Yes, and you know, and I'm now working very carefully through it. I think I've gotten through 7 of the 12 chapters.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
But
when
when
you said it,
Hold on, Alan, and then Farah.
either way, no, when you said it repeats itself, that's there's nothing new under the sun occurs to me. What you just said.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just look at this text. Only that shall happen, that has happened, only that occurred, that has occurred. There is nothing new beneath the sun. Ein kol chadash tachat hashemesh. The Hebrew is actually quite simple. Farah.
the war between Israel and Yehuda happened after Solomon?
The split between Israel
and Yehuda.
So with Solomon's children, there was a split, and the nation split into 2 other nations. One called in Hebrew Yisrael, the other one called Yehuda, Israel and Judah. So that was post Solomon.
And they fight with each other.
That I don't remember. You may be right. I just don't remember. I mean, certainly in the book of Judges, the tribes are fighting with each other. I don't recall that Israel and Judah fought with each other. You may be right. I don't recall that. Jerry.
We're called the people of Judah. Today,
We are called Jews after Judah,
after
probably because the Romans called us the Judeans.
right. And what happened to Israel?
10 lost tribes.
They're lost.
Well, there's no record of exactly what happened to them. So the nation split into 2, and then for generations you had a king of Judah and you had a king of Israel. And then the Assyrians in 722, don't ask me how I remember this stuff. The BCE, the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom of the kingdom of Israel. And we don't have a record of what happened. They became part of Assyria. But you know, scholars believe that they migrated, those that wanted to, migrated to the southern kingdom, and they traced the E text in the Torah to the northern kingdom.
But we still recall 12 tribes and not less or more.
Yes. Because Jacob had 12 sons.
Okay.
And then it gets complicated because there's two sub-tribes of Joseph, two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, become tribes. So might be 12, might be 13. Alan.
So when the two areas were divided into two kingdoms and boundaries were determined through military and diplomatic ways, can I think of this as a precedent for a two-state solution?
It's a reminder of a two-state problem. Yeah,
Well,
that's I've never heard it applied that way. I like it.
That's okay. I probably won't win those discussions with somebody who doesn't believe in having a two-state solution, but I
That's the
might
great
try
thing
it.
about certain arguments. You will not convince anyone of them. I consider myself a specialist in such arguments.
I'm in the club. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I set my mind to study and to probe with wisdom all that happens under the sun, an unhappy business that which Hashem gave mortals to be concerned with. I observed all the happenings beneath the sun, and I found that all is futile and pursuit of wind.
Okay. So here we go. We're accompanying this old man, presumably former king, and he decides to embrace philosophy. He is setting his mind, and I think I even have it. Yeah. I mean, it says, I set my mind, I natati, I gave my my heart, which, we've talked about this. I think, Alan, you've raised this, that in biblical Hebrew, the idea is that the heart was the seat of rational intelligence to study. So, and basically the book of Kohelet is, we're going to accompany him as he reports on his study. And he's not happy about it. Unhappy business, that which God gave mortals to be concerned with. And he observes, we see him observing all the time. It's ra'iti, pretty simple Hebrew word meaning I saw. All the things, the ma'asim, that happened beneath the sun, and hine, and behold, hakol hevel, everything is hevel, the re'ut ruach, and a pursuit of the wind. So he's not finding much meaning at this point in time.
But Rabbi,
yes,
I believe that if you follow your heart, that it's not a rational thing, because everybody tells you, okay, follow your heart. But if you follow your heart, most of the time you get into trouble.
Because I would say in English, when we say follow your heart, you mean follow your emotions and follow your drives, your primal drives.
Yeah, emotion.
But hold on. In biblical Hebrew, it was thought that the heart was the seat of intelligence.
Yeah.
So that's why they translated it as I set my mind to study, even though the Hebrew word is heart.
We know now that emotion is a chemical reaction, so it's doesn't lead to very good results.
We know that
one worse food for your waistline.
thinking is a chemical reaction. I'm sorry, what's a chemical reaction?
Emotion is
everything's a chemical reaction.
Yeah. So heart, especially if you say, okay, follow your heart, and that's not a good reason.
I don't understand why you say it's not good. If someone follows their heart and cures polio, it's a good thing.
You don't cure a polio because you followed your heart. You cure polio because you know how to come up with a new DNA and make new medications. It has nothing to do with the heart.
Jonas Salk never heard of DNA, but that's a minor point.
But he didn't follow his heart.
No, I would say he did. He followed his heart, and that's what led him to be a doctor and to pursue this problem. He had to use his brain to solve the problem, but the brain is chemical reactions too. So I would say, your brain can lead you to good and it can lead you to evil. And that's, what I think of as the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov. So that's where that's where actually where I think God comes in. But yeah, everything's a chemical reaction. Everything's physics. I just want to put a good word for physics. And then everything's a chemical reaction. And certainly in life, if it's all chemistry. Paul.
Yes, I want to just speak to Erwin. He's trying to really understand this. I just want to say that I think the heart needs to come first. The reason I say that is because people will get together, let's say even in a college, say, what do we do about this problem? What do we do about this problem? They're not thinking about it in their head, they're thinking about it in their heart because they're driven by a beautiful idea that they can make something happen.
Yeah. So Paul, I just want to say, when you say they're thinking about it in their heart, the only part of your body that thinks is your brain.
Right.
When you say they're thinking about it in your heart, you're really saying that it's the emotional part of their brain.
That's right. That would
right.
be right.
The heart is a muscle that pumps blood, nothing more,
That's
nothing
right.
less.
But
So
why do, yes, I know what you're saying, but to begin, I guess I'll just leave it to me to begin talking about God. I think his ideas or his purpose around here is to give you a chance to be kind and make your heart feel good. When I say heart, I don't mean the physical heart. I mean the emotional heart that has in your body.
I do think that's part of it, but I don't think it's all of it.
Yeah,
Because
not
some
all of it,
people
no,
feel
for
good
sure.
by torturing other people.
Right.
And I don't think that's where God sits. Okay, let's see if I have. Yeah. So again, just kind of summarizing at least what I'm getting and what Fox is getting out of these texts is the search is hopeless. God gives man a desire for knowledge that we cannot achieve. And he's responding here. God gave mortals to be concerned with. So God gives us a desire for knowledge, but at least from Kohelet's point of view, we really can't achieve that knowledge.
A twisted thing that cannot be made straight, a lack that cannot be made good. I said to myself, here I have grown richer and wiser than any who ruled before me over Jerusalem, and my mind has zealously absorbed wisdom and learning.
Okay, so once again, this is another indication that it may well be Solomon, because he's certainly was the richest king over Jerusalem. And I just want to point out, I don't know, I may even have it here. No. So he says, not only are all things senseless, but they can't be improved. Something that's twisted can't be made straight. A lack can't be made good. I actually don't believe that, and I don't believe Judaism teaches that. I think we're supposed to repair the world. I think we're supposed to make things better. But this is the state of mind that Kohelet is in at this point in the story. And I just want to just point out another Hebrew idiom. Yeah, okay, I did point it out here. When it reads, I said to myself, it literally says, I spoke with my heart, saying,
Yes.
Dibarti ani im libi, lemor, saying. Okay.
How do you speak with your heart? It doesn't have any lips or anything.
It's another way of saying, I said to myself. How do you say something to yourself?
Right. And but the idea is it's something inside of you. It doesn't have to be exactly your heart. It could be any part of you that has an idea.
What I'm pointing out is this is a Hebrew idiom.
Yes.
If I say to you, Paul, don't bust my chops, you haven't touched my chops.
No.
But you know what I mean because it's an idiom.
Exactly what you mean, yes.
Right. And in fact, one of my favorite Hebrew idioms is when you really work hard and study something, they describe it as breaking your teeth over something.
Really?
It's like you're I can only think you're working so hard at it that you clench your jaw and you break your teeth.
Right.
Not like that hockey player who won the gold medal the other night, who had the help of another player's stick. But I just want to point out, because I'm fascinated by language, and I love seeing idioms in Hebrew and other languages, and so I just point them out. And of course, you can't take idioms literally. So
Right, you can't.
you're
No,
absolutely right.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, Erwin, were you starting to say something? No, somebody was, I thought. Okay. Okay. So let's continue. So
And so
basically, I
I,
just want to point out where we were. So he said, here I've grown richer and wiser than anyone ruled before me in Jerusalem, and my mind has zealously absorbed wisdom and learning.
and so I set my mind to appraise wisdom and to appraise madness and folly. And I learned that this too was pursuit of wind. For as wisdom grows, vexation grows. To increase learning is to increase heartache.
This is not very optimistic. You know, I often joke, and I look at Cheryl whenever I'm joking about this, that if there have been psychotropic medications with this, you know, Kohelet plus Ecclesiastes equals nursery rhymes. But I'm sorry, Kohelet plus Xanax. If he had only had Xanax, he would have been a much happier king. But he's really suffering, and so he's trying to figure out. He's setting his mind, uh, and again, the word for mind here is heart, to learn about wisdom and knowledge, chachma and da'at, and this too is re'ut, ruach, a pursuit of the wind, because even as ki rov chachma, rov like rabbi or todah rabbah, for greater the wisdom, greater the vexation. Less and then fall.
Do you think that?
Hold on, Erwin. Erwin, hold on. Les, you're muted, but your hand is up.
Do you think that if it is Solomon, he was supposedly the wisest, richest man, maybe of all, his generation or whatever? Maybe he had so much that there was nothing left to even try to get. I mean, if you have everything, where's the want for anything?
Yeah, so I see that here. That there's this song. I think I put it in one of the lines. Is that all there is? You get all this stuff, and does that make you happy? Does that lead you to a place of greater wisdom? So I think the amazing thing about this book being in the Bible is it's a book of doubt and frustration, and notwithstanding all of that, it's in the Bible. Paul, and then I think,
Yes.
I don't remember who else was coming in after that. Go ahead.
The Rabbi Diamond asked me to call somebody because they were having some difficulty. And I called the person and we talked for, about 3 hours on the phone. I've never met her before. And I said to her, I really like your heart. And she says, I like your heart too. What does it mean to like somebody's heart if it's just a piece of flesh? It's not a piece
You're
of
taking idioms literally. Stop busting my chops.
That's right. That's what I think I would like to see them as. That's what I'd like to see them as something that's good for me.
Right. So what you were saying was your emotion has impressed and touched me.
That's right. There you go.
But
right.
your idiom was, I like your heart, which is a beautiful way of saying it.
Right.
If I say to someone, your emotion has impressed and touched me, their reaction is probably going to be, huh?
Yeah.
But if you say, I love your heart,
yes.
That's a beautiful thing because it's more understood
yes.
and it sounds more heartfelt to
exactly
have another idiom. So, yes, so you can't take idioms literally. When it's raining cats and dogs, you don't have to find the kibble.
No, but the idea is to make it into another idea, not the same thing you're thinking of. Like heart is a heart. It's not. It's part of your mind. Part of
It's
your
an
mind.
idiom, Paul. I think you're overthinking it, which is
but
another
it's part
thing.
of your mind. It's not really realistic to say I love your heart, but
It's an
the
idiom.
person knows what you mean. They know you mean my heart, my love.
When you have two people who have grown up speaking the same language,
yes,
they share idioms. If you came to this country, and I'll look at Erwin and Farah, And you come to this country and people are speaking and they say, get all your ducks in a row, or it's raining cats and dogs, or mind your P's and Q's, or, I got all my bases covered.
Right.
We know exactly what that means.
Right.
But someone who hasn't grown up in this country will look at you like you're nuts. What are you talking about?
I know, but
Where
you
are the
have to
cats and the
learn that.
dogs?
It's something that you have to learn. It doesn't just pop out of you all of a sudden. You
It's
have to
an
be
idiom,
taught that.
yes. Just like you learn to speak English.
That's
You
right.
learn the idiomatic use. Okay, well, I don't want to belabor that. Farah, go ahead.
He says that he was the more wise than everybody in Jerusalem. Okay, maybe we accept it, but the word
He said he was
just
richer, I think. Oh, no, you're
okay.
right. Richer and wiser. Yes.
Richer. Okay, but all the world is not Jerusalem. Jerusalem was one part of the world. It was another places, people that they were wise or they were not wise or something else. Only they talk about the one part of the world.
Well, it's not someone else saying that he was the wisest king in Jerusalem. He's saying it.
He say, but other kind of other part of the world because
Yeah.
they were
So, I
in
mean,
Middle
I,
East.
I, I'm interested in what he thinks. I'm not actually interested in what the comparative IQs of all the people in the Holy Land were, because that's unknowable.
Right.
But the fact that here we have a guy who is telling us he is richer and wiser than anyone else who has ever ruled in Jerusalem, and he can't figure it out. I think that's the point.
But regarding idiom that you say, I got the classes for idiom, for English idiom, and I have
You
the
got the
book
glasses
for
for you. I can't understand what you're saying.
because I want to understand English idiom, like a cat
Oh.
and the, yeah,
Oh,
and I have the books to understand them.
yeah. Okay. But the Hebrew here is pretty straightforward. I have grown and collected wisdom over all that were before me in Jerusalem. Actually, I don't even see the word ruled before me, so that's kind of an interesting thing. But he's saying all that were before me in Jerusalem. So again, the English translator is adding words to try and clarify it, and we can quibble with the words he adds. Okay.
It's not beautiful enough. It isn't beautiful enough.
Sorry?
It is not beautiful enough.
What's not beautiful
It's dry. It's not tasteful. It's not from you. That's what I'm thinking. There's something missing
in the Hebrew?
In the English. There's something missing.
Well, I don't think the Hebrew is not beautiful, but anyway, okay. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Gee, another
That's
phrase.
exactly right.
And okay. So let's continue. We may finish one chapter. I feel so much better. I was worried we were going to run out of text. I only finished 7 chapters preparing for this.
All right, Rabbi, I think I read this already.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
And so I set my mind to appraise wisdom and appraise madness and folly. And I learned that this too was a pursuit of wind.
Right.
Yes, you did read it. For as wisdom grows, vexation grows.
Right.
To increase learning is to increase heartache. So Ibn Ezra, who is, I think, like about 1,000 Common Era, explains that one who understands the world will suffer from knowing that his children will eventually die and his wealth will be lost. So that's actually one way a lot of the commentators are explaining Solomon, and they're focusing on something that we talked about. Solomon's children are not very good king. So bad that the kingdom splits in two. And so one of the commentaries I saw a lot was that Solomon could foresee this happening. And so that's what made him so upset. And I would say, some of us either have or know of people whose children don't like each other and fight with each other. And that's, here you have accumulated all this wisdom and all this money and all this knowledge. Yet I know my kids are just going to fight over, their inheritance. And boy, have I seen that a lot conducting funerals. Les.
I'll just say one last
Hold
thing.
on, Les.
We're being told that he had 1,000 wives. How many children did he have? And how could he have spent any time with the children? I mean,
It was quality time, Les.
Huh?
I said it was quality. I have no idea.
No,
nor do I
never
take
heard.
those stories literally for a second.
Okay, so 1,000 wives is not literal. It's just he had many wives. Would that be more like it?
I would say that was the point of the story. Very many wives. If he
And-
just had many wives, it would be 40 wives. Actually, if you had several wives, it would be 3. If you really had a full complement, it would be 7. If you had a lot, it would be 40. Then there's another expression you see in the Bible with hundreds, but he supposedly had 1,000, and I'm not even sure where that one comes from. Paul.
Yeah, let me just read this one sentence. To increase learning is to increase heartache. Now, I will change one of the words. To increase learning is to increase misunderstanding.
No.
Now,
when you write your book for your Bible, that's
when
how
you say heartache, you have a lot of meaning, a lot of.
No. I understand. I understand, Paul, but they're translating the word is kohev, which is pain.
Pain.
And it could be pain in your back, but I would say what he's capturing is what we would call heartache, and it's not a cardiac condition.
No,
it's spiritual pain.
It's spiritual pain, right? And spiritual, going into that spiritual part is a part of the heart. It's part of the heart.
Are you asking a biological question or a thematic
I'm asking
question?
you like a fundamental question that a lot of people use to describe how they feel.
I would say a lot of people would say that.
Yeah.
A cardiologist probably wouldn't say that. Sorry, Les. I mean, I don't want to belabor this whole idiom issue.
I think what he says about increased learning, the more you learn, like for instance, when I was growing up, I didn't know about people starving in Africa. I didn't know about some of the poverty all around the world. And then when you learn about that and you find out more and more about it, it really does give you quote unquote heartache.
Yes. So that's what even Ezra's saying 1,000 years ago. We see starvation in Africa and horrible malnutrition, and we say how horrible the world has become, and the world was just as horrible 100 years ago, but we didn't have pictures of what it looked like. So I think that's in that sense, increasing learning is increasing pain. I would also say increasing learning helps fight pain. When I'm feeling really down, if I read a brilliant book. So again, this is Kohelet. This is not God speaking to us. The interesting thing is, Jim, whether your fundamentalist pastor would say this is the word of God. I suspect he might. Or would he say this is the word of Kohelet? I don't know.
Again, he's not my pastor. He's my friend who is a pastor. I'm not a fundamentalist.
No, I understand. I understand it very well. But,
so would he say, is this the word of God or is this the word Kohelet?
Yeah.
I'll ask him.
Yeah, that would be an interesting question.
I'll ask him. And by the way, when we started this, you said Kohelet talks about rejoicing and how great it is to rejoice.
I haven't gotten there yet.
I was going to say I'm looking forward to hearing that because I haven't heard squat about rejoicing yet.
Right, and I will just point out that squat is an idiom. Because I think if you take that literally, what squat is, you can't hear it anyway.
Rabbi, you make me laugh.
Well, that is one of the things I love to do is make people laugh.
Yeah, you make my heart feel good. Now, how is that different from the increased heartache?
Right.
So is it okay to say that in a text message I exchanged with somebody else that you're quick on your feet too?
You could say that, but you haven't seen my feet.
I know, but the way you come back on these idioms, that's how I express.
I enjoy making people laugh, and Alan, did you know Michael Signer? You know who have you ever? He was a rabbi. He was actually a rabbi at Notre Dame, and a brilliant scholar.
Didn't
And
know
he
it.
knew me before I became ordained, and I would do all my silly songs. And he told me, you know, you can't continue doing that once you become a rabbi.
Do you
And
have a VHS
Great.
playback machine,
Sorry?
Rabbi? Do you have a VHS playback, cassette?
I don't think so.
All right, sorry, I have the Adon Alum program I was thinking of sending to you. I'll have to figure out how to deal with that. The one where you butchered or
Oh yeah,
really,
yeah. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of songs that I do.
I
I
have
can't
several.
remember what I mean. There's a song I know by heart, which is Haman's song on the way to the. I'm going to stop recording. This really is
Wise
not.
choice.
This is